contracts, calendars, copyrights. That's where this story quietly begins, not with tiaras or trumpets. A duchess inks a top-tier representation deal. A global streamer renews. A podcast that once lived behind a single paywall now slips into every pocket. A lifestyle label reappears with a new name, and a bottle drop that vanishes before most browsers finish loading the page. Ask yourself, is this the outline of an escape or the blueprint of a power play? Two systems, one strategy. For years, the easy headline was, "She left the palace to save her peace." There's truth in that sentence, but it's not the whole paragraph. Rotate the lens. On one side of the royal rota, an elegant old machine that guarantees you attention while quietly diluting your authorship. On the other, the platform economy, messy, fast, unforgiving, but built on edit locks and calendars you control. In London, you wave from a balcony. In Los Angeles, you approve a cut, pick a thumbnail, and decide if the world meets you today or next Tuesday. This isn't simply retreat from scrutiny. It looks like a startup playbook. Hire the heavyweight agency, diversify distribution, tell longer stories in your voice, and build a brand you can take with you anywhere. No uniform required. The question behind the clicks. So which is it? Liberation or manipulation? Here's where it gets interesting. The palace runs on stability, clear lines, rehearsed timing, a rhythm older than any of us. California runs on iteration, try, learn, tweak, try again. Meghan's moves line up with iteration, carefully staged reveals, staggered projects, a signature tone that doesn't shout to win a headline, but repeats to win a memory. The question we'll test through this whole film is not, did she run? It's, what did she build when she arrived? We'll turn the prism four ways: control, capital, credibility, and cost. Because that's how any modern portfolio lives or dies. And if at the end you still think it was only an escape, fine. But you may see the escape as Act 1 and not the ending. Chapter 1, Control, from courtiers to checklists. Inside the royal machine, your diary is your message. You don't simply have a day, you are your day. A school visit here, a hospital ward there, a charity gala with the national anthem catching in throats. It's beautiful. It's also bounded. Protocol sands your edges because the point is the crown, not the character. California flips the physics. Control stops being what you're permitted to do and becomes what you decide to ship. That starts with representation built to operate like an OS, not a booking desk, production bench, legal surge capacity, brand and partnerships, crisis bandwidth, distribution logic. On a whiteboard, it looks dry, arrows and boxes, teams and timelines. In practice, it means you choose which stories land long form and which moments stay intimate. It means the door to your house is not a tabloid lens, it's a scheduling link. Owning the edit. Aha, number one. Here's a quiet aha. Vulnerability in a monarchy tends to leak as scandal. Vulnerability in a production slate can be context. Same heartbeat, different frame. When you own the edit, you can decide that a shaky laugh lives in the cut and a private text does not. That isn't deceit, it's authorship. The tight choreography between owned and earned media proves the point. Instagram returns, but curated. Warm, tidy, sparing. A carousel of sunlit kitchen shots isn't confessional, it's calibration. Long-form arcs live on the streamer, day-to-day hum goes to the socials, the newsletter and shop convert casual attention into addresses no paper can seize. Invictus updates feel like open windows, not open wounds. Close enough to feel the joy, far enough to keep the nest whole. The complaint storm, aha number 2. One morning TV blow-up after that first big interview became a kind of national sport. Complaints by the tens of thousands, regulators roped into refereeing tone. Whatever you believe about the arguments, the scale itself teaches the lesson. This topic detonates attention. That means your strategy can't be less interesting. It has to be own the rails. Owned rails mean your words reach your audience with fewer translators in the middle. Still accountable to truth, but not hostage to fury. Sequencing beats volume. Here's the mantra you'll hear again. Sequencing beats scale. Volume shouts. Sequencing remembers. You don't win by doing everything everywhere. You win by releasing the right thing at the right time, letting the meaning compound. The palace model favors dignity through distance. The portfolio model favors trust through consistency. Neither is inherently superior until you need to survive a storm of hot takes. Then the person who controls the thermostat usually wins. Keep that in your pocket because we're about to leave control and walk into the engine room where attention stops being a spotlight and becomes something stranger and stronger. Capital. Chapter 2. Capital. Turning attention into an engine. Fame is a flare. Power is a generator. The trick is building a flywheel that converts momentary attention into repeatable momentum. The Meghan blueprint looks like this: story arrow, audience arrow, product arrow, community arrow story. A loop with no single point of failure. Story seeds the loop. Begin with a long-form slate. Personality forward yet measured. Hosting, hospitality, the tactile sunlight of a kitchen table. That window is deliberate. It speaks to values, care, welcome, small rituals done well, without descending into soft-focus parody. You watch a segment about a loaf and a story, a garden and a memory, and then you start to infer the person. Not the tabloid screaming version, the slow domestic one. Long-form is not just content, it is context with a shelf life. Viewers finish an episode, and whether they loved it or shrugged, they now know where to locate this brand in their mental map. Calm, kind, curated, craft. Product as proof. Then comes the pivot from feeling to proof. The brand reemerges with simple pantry gestures, sweetness, warmth, a little label that sounds like a promise. The logic is founder classic. Start small, test fast, learn what sells and why. You would be forgiven for missing the data science under the linen napkin. A limited drop isn't just a sellout, it's a clean signal on price elasticity, cart size, time to reorder, and a cohort's half-life. When wine arrives, it isn't a random flight of fancy. It's the ladder rung that makes the kitchen table bigger. The bottle isn't shouting luxury, it whispers memory. You pour a glass, and the brand story is already sitting in the room without needing a monologue. Community closes the loop. After an exclusive audio chapter ends, the podcast migrates to everywhere. To the casual listener that reads like a plot twist, to the operator it reads like risk management. One platform is a wind tunnel. 5 platforms are a weather system. A founder-to-founder interview series multiplies network effects. Guests bring their audiences in and leave with, "I'd build with her," on their lips. The newsletter grows, the shop list grows, the ability to speak without a middleman grows. The heritage lever, aha number 3. You can time a drop to quarterly results, or you can time it to a memory. A date that carries personal resonance becomes a soft drum beat you can hear without checking a watch. Do it once, it feels tender. Do it every week, it curdles. The key is restraint. This is not about harvesting sentiment, it's about honoring it. The audience can tell what you're doing without a single explainer. Brand isomorphism, aha number 4. Most brands falter not because they lack a logo, but because their touchpoints disagree. Here the touchpoints rhyme. The show's palette, quiet creams, soft woods, natural light, repeats in photography and packaging. The copy voice is unhurried but specific. Even the way an email says hello seems to carry the same breath you heard on camera. That's not coincidence. It's a design constraint. When everything feels like one room with the same light, conversion improves without raising your voice. Capital isn't just cash, it's optionality. What matters is not a single SKU or a single show. It's that if one door slams, 3 more remain open. You can pivot a product line without scrapping the persona. You can pivot a slate without losing the list. You can pivot the list without losing the cause. This is capital as optionality, and it's why escape becomes a chapter heading, not a closing line. Chapter 3, credibility, 2 courts, 2 curves. All of this fails if people don't believe you. Credibility lives in 2 arenas, the public square and the court of law. The first runs on sentiment, the second runs on evidence. The line between them is thinner than we wish and thicker than Twitter pretends. The public square curves that clash. In the UK, sentiment toward Meghan and Harry has long been a headwind. Polling illustrates a stubborn gap between them and senior working royals. In the US, the picture is warmer, often net positive, and a lot more elastic. Headlines bend it, but can't define it for long. Factor in age and another curve appears. Younger audiences, more monarchy skeptical by default, are less allergic to the couple and more drawn to purpose-driven narratives. Translate: Britain equals headwind, America equals runway, Gen Z equals long cycle tailwind. The courtroom, records not rumors. Then there's the courtroom, the place where a thesis meets a transcript. A judge declares unlawful information gathering in specific cases. Damages are awarded. Another matter resolves with a public apology and a settlement. A third narrows, not because the sky fell, but because lawyers trimmed claims to the ones with the cleanest proof. Why does that matter to a brand? Because sponsors and platforms read legal documents in risk language. A well-reasoned paragraph can change a boardroom vote more than 100 opinion pieces. When a court says a line was crossed, it's not just catharsis, it's risk repricing. The streaming proof, audience shows up. And then the undeniable, when a certain docuseries premiered, the hours watched figures weren't just good for a niche, they were record-setting for the format. You can disagree with the couple, the cuts, the thesis, the timing, but the audience showed up. Numbers like that harden a streaming relationship, buoy a slate, and embolden greenlights that might otherwise hesitate. Split-screen truth, number 5. Hold both truths at once. Courtroom momentum on specific points and persistent UK polling headwinds. Neither cancels the other. Together, they describe the terrain the couple navigates. Validated claims about intrusion and a divided public mood, especially across the Atlantic. If you're building a Media Plus Maker portfolio, that split means one thing: tell the story clearly and let the work compound. We leave credibility here with an uncomfortable but useful sentence. You can win a judgment and still lose a poll. You can lose a news cycle and still win a decade. The next chapter explains why. Chapter 4, Cost, Power Sends a Bill. Every strategy collects a tax. Here the bill arrives in 3 currencies: backlash, bandwidth, brand risk. You don't eliminate them, you budget for them. Backlash forecasts don't fear. Every launch becomes a referendum, a kitchen-warm trailer, overproduced, a rapid sellout, hype, a court filing, PR theater. The cycle is frustrating and predictable. Predictability is good news. If you can forecast the spike, you can prepare the funnel. Customer service briefed, restock dates honest, FAQs tuned, returns painless. You don't argue with a think piece, you outlast it with boringly excellent delivery. Bandwidth, org chart, not oxygen. A slate, a shop, a cause calendar, a family. This is not a willpower problem, it's an org chart problem. You need bench, surge capacity, escalation pathways, and surgical meetings where a data point can cross the membrane from comments to product tweak in a week. Without an operating system, charisma burns out. With one, charisma becomes renewable. The right 10 minutes on camera, backed by 24 invisible people who make sure the bottle arrives and the episode lands clean. Brand risk, separation with synergy. This portfolio's moat is authenticity, home, hosting, handmade, generosity. Scale threatens moats. The fix is separation with synergy. Keep service and nonprofit windows clearly ring-fenced. No product sneaking into a medal ceremony. Keep the consumer line proudly commercial but values-led. No coyness, just quality. Let long-form storytelling carry warmth and purpose without turning into a checkout aisle. Cross-pollinate sparingly. Thematic echoes, yes. Hard sells, no. When audiences smell opportunism, trust evaporates like summer rain on hot stone. When they smell care, they stay. The human clip, let life leak in. Here's something algorithms still can't fake well. An unguarded smile that isn't an asset class. A clumsy snow tube run. A dog who insists on photobombing dignity. The most memorable moments of the year weren't product shots. They were glitches in perfection, and audiences treat them like proof of life. Strategy can set the stage, but it shouldn't muzzle the bloopers. Leave a squeak in the floorboards. The room feels real. Synthesis. Escape as ignition, not destination. So, escape or media trap. The sharper reading is escape as ignition. Walking away from a system that prizes silence created space to build a portfolio that prizes authorship. That doesn't mean a friction-free fairy tale. It means a machine built to metabolize friction, to learn from noise, to ship through storms, to turn spikes of attention into loops of belonging. Right now, the dashboard reads like this: distribution diversified, long-form renewed, audio cross-platform, brand pacing disciplined, courtroom record providing a spine, UK sentiment hard, US curiosity steady, youth ambivalent toward crowns, optimistic toward craft. It's not unanimity, it's enough to build on. The operating thesis, AHA number 6, sequencing greater than scale. In an attention economy, more is not a strategy. Sequence is. Own the next chapter. Time it so the last conversation hands the baton to the new one. Let the story teach the shelf what to stock, and let the shelf remind the story what people actually love. You don't need to become louder. You need to become truer sooner. A quiet prediction. If this engine stays disciplined, the most persuasive sentence you'll hear about Meghan won't be shouted by a pundit. It will be murmured by a customer. It's exactly what I hoped it would taste like. That sounds small. It isn't. In a world trained to doubt, kept promises are the loudest media. Conclusion. The bet, the trap, the tell. Strip the spectacle to studs, and you'll see a clean bet. Own the narrative, monetize it softly, and build enough optionality that a bad news week can't cancel a good year. Will Britain warm? Maybe slowly, maybe never. Does that doom the flywheel? No. If the work keeps landing, if the products keep feeling like the story, if the law keeps writing what the tabloids won't, and if the team keeps choosing patience over panic. Was it escape or power play? It was both. An exit from a room that demanded quiet, an entrance into a workshop that rewards edited honesty. Stories can sour, but tended with craft, they can also ferment into something sturdier than a headline: identity. All right, your turn. Which lever matters most? Control, capital, credibility, or cost? If you were scripting the next 12 months, what would you greenlight first? A human interest doc that deepens trust, a founder-to-founder mini-arc that widens the network, or a product collaboration that expands the table without shouting? Drop your playbook and your best aha from tonight below.